What's going on, guys? Wanted to make a video and show you a new project I've been working on, and this is actually something I've been wanting to make for quite some time now, and I've kind of been designing in my head for a while, but only recently got around to putting some pen to paper and kind of coming up with a rough prototype, which I was able to put together in the shop tonight. But what you're looking at here, as you've probably already figured out, is just a pair of small everyday carry scissors. And they're roughly inspired by some traditional Japanese shears or scissors that I recently saw. And they're even a bit reminiscent of the old-fashioned wool shears or sheep shears that you used to see around, if any of you are familiar with that. But I kind of wanted to make a more modern version of those scissors and kind of put my spin on things and end up with something that would be good for everyday carry, everyday use, and maybe even be just a little bit better than, say, the scissors that come on your typical multi-tools or Swiss Army knives. Not that they don't do a good job for what they are, but normally they're really not that good for cutting thicker things like leather, cardboard, fabric, and whatnot. So it's kind of my solution to that. And I'm just going to take you through a couple of cut tests with it, and then maybe talk about some things as far as the design and things that I may end up changing if I do end up taking these to production or making any to sell. So first, let's go ahead and cut a few things. You'll see probably quite a bit on the floor there where I've been testing them out already. But obviously paper is no problem, it's just some printer paper, as any pair of scissors should be able to. It cuts quite well. Let's see what else. I got some old t-shirt material here. Cuts that without a problem. Let's see, here's a use that would probably be fairly common for a pair of scissors like this, cutting fishing line, tying lures. Obviously that's not going to be an issue. Let's see, I got some paracord. Cuts just fine. And even some weed eater line, which is something I cut quite often when I'm mowing my yard and running the weed eater. And they can be pretty rough on scissors, but they cut that pretty well. And let's see, I got a piece of stranded, I believe 16 gauge wire, which is no problem. And let's see if I can even strip this. It's another good use for a small pair of scissors. You can even get what's called electrician shears. They roughly do the same thing, but you see it works pretty well for that. And then I got a little piece of, I think, 6 or 8 ounce leather here. Let's see if you can find a corner. Cuts through this fairly easily as well. And then lastly, I just got a little piece of toilet paper here, which is, I think, a good test if you're sharpening scissors. You should be able to cut something very thin and flexible, and you can see cuts just fine. So that's just a couple examples. Obviously you really won't be able to do that with a pair of multi-tool scissors or even Swiss Army knife scissors. I'm not even sure if these desk drawer scissors would really take care of all those. So pretty happy with how they perform. And just to kind of go over some things that I may change if I do take them to production. This is obviously the rough prototype, the first version more or less that I've made of these. And I'm pretty happy with how they turned out and how they work. But I'm thinking maybe a couple things that I'll change. Maybe the pivot size. This currently uses a 3/16 or 0.187 diameter alpha knife supply pivot. It's also got a roller bearing on the inside, which is really good for the action. They open and close very smoothly. And I really like how that works, and this actually does a pretty good job, but I think I will go with maybe a larger 1/4 inch pivot if I can. And another thing I may do is get a slightly larger spring for these as well. I made these springs, or this spring rather, myself using some 50 thousandths diameter music wire. And I may go up to, say, 70, 80 thousandths just to give it a little bit more spring. Then again, I may not. I'm pretty happy with this action, so I may kind of leave it alone. And then probably the other thing I'll do is maybe go with a 3/16 thick steel instead of 1/8, just to give a little bit more to grip onto and make them a little bit more durable. And then as far as the steel that these are made out of, this is 1095 high carbon spring steel, which actually works really well. It's a very suitable steel for this, but I'll probably end up going with something a little bit more stain resistant, if not even a little bit tougher, maybe like some D2 or something like that. I'm still kind of debating on that, as I want to make them affordable. I really don't want to take these up to maybe $100 a pair if I can help it. But those are just kind of some things I'm thinking about if I do end up making these to sell. So one thing I'll also probably do, instead of cutting these all out by hand, I'll probably have the pieces water jet cut and then assemble them and grind and heat treat them myself. But anyway, that's just kind of a quick video. Again, kind of a new project, new idea I've been toying with for a while. And overall, I'm very happy with how they came out. And chances are I will probably make some of these to sell, depending on the interest. So let me know what you think, guys. I appreciate any feedback, any comments below. And as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you.